There's one particular individual who I've worked with, I've partnered up with, I've collaborated with over the years, and I've known him since 2004. This particular individual has been training, delivering workshops to 40 to 50, 60,000 young people, so teenagers primarily, young people in colleges and universities. He's been doing that every single year since 2004. And he's also been working with business leaders, so groups such as Vistage, which is an organization for CEOs, as well as the Academy of Chief Executives. And he's been teaching a number of things, but the key area he's been teaching is something called the massive goal principles. And he talks about why goals don't work and what it is you can do to make them work. And he also talks about something called purpose. And without telling you too much, what I recommend you to do is watch the interview or listen to the interview that's about to go ahead. Now, this is a journey that he and I are taking to our next speaking event. So it's all in the car. So enjoy the fun and make some notes. Also, by the way, he's going to be giving away a prize. Now, he mentions the word 300 spaces left. This particular gift he's got for you. But actually, that's changed over the last few days. There's only 200 spaces left. So enjoy the Harun Rabbani Show. Dave, thank you very much for joining this crazy interview. We're doing On the Move. We're on the way to one of your speaking gigs. You're speaking at to a company, a business organization. So let's talk about purpose for a moment. A lot of people, businesses, entrepreneurs, they might be successful, maybe with a team, and maybe they've got an annual statement which says their purpose, their mission, their vision. Why is purpose so important in your eyes, and why are people getting it wrong, or where are they going wrong?
The biggest reason people are getting it wrong is because they think they understand what it is. I'm absolutely fine with people who say I haven't got one, or I don't know what it is or how to find one, but too many people will say, oh yes, I know my purpose, only for them to then tell people what their goals are. And there is a huge difference. There's a chasm, there's a gulf between goals and a purpose. A goal is the tangible, measurable outcome, the thing upon which you're striving to achieve. Whereas, thank you, Mr. Motorcycle. Whereas the purpose is the reason why you're doing it in the first place. I'm sure you, like I, Harun, have seen so many entrepreneurs and business owners who, as an example, they'll say, oh, but I'll sell the business for 5 million and then I'll retire and be happy. Only for 12 months after that moment for them to be drowning their sorrows in a cut glass whiskey tumbler on the 19th hole of a golf course, worrying why they're on the third manager and the children don't speak to them.
Yeah.
So they go after things to make them happy, only to realise that when they get it, that's not what it was all about. They've still got this feeling inside that there's something missing, there's a hole in their life, and the hole is a purpose-shaped hole.
So it almost sounds like, and I'm just being the devil's advocate here, it almost sounds like it's almost like an esoteric, woolly, airy-fairy kind of affair having a purpose. Talk to me, tell me if it's otherwise.
Well, I'm from Birmingham in England. You know, most personal development is fluffy, woolly nonsense as far as I'm concerned. And my research absolutely proved me wrong, because I've interviewed, as you know, 250 top achievers plus over the last 21 years, and many of them alluded to this thing called purpose. They kept talking about how I'll do that as long as it's in line with my purpose. I'll do that if it's congruent with my purpose, or I do this because it's purpose driven. And it kind of washed over me because, like your comment, I thought it was fluffy, woolly nonsense. But when you interview, by any measurement, Europe's leading psychologist, Professor Adrian Furnham, and during the interview he kept saying the word purpose, and he said it several times in one interview. And in my head, Harun, when someone says something several times, there's a thread. And I'm the type of person, being a sceptical brummie, that when I see a thread, I will keep tugging at it until it unravels the jumper. and so I kept saying, "Oh, well, do you mind if I ask you a question about purpose?" And he went, "Feel free." Now, bearing in mind, my interview was about goal setting. It wasn't about purpose. But what he said changed my life, Harun, and helps me help other people to do the same. He said that I do things as long as they're in line with my purpose. So I said, therefore, you know what your purpose is. He went, absolutely. I mean, there was certainty, there was conviction in his voice. I just went down a pothole and sent you flying. That was hilarious.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And I'm going to look for another pothole now. And I said, so what, you have a system or a process? He went, absolutely, yeah, it's quite easy. I said, whoa. How long does this thing take? Is it like a 6-year master's degree course? He went, no, it'll take you about 15 minutes to understand the principles, and then it might take you anything from a week to a couple of years to actually nail your purpose. And I went, whoa. So in 15 minutes, you can help people get a better grasp on whether what they've been doing all their life has been the right thing and what they should be doing. He went, absolutely. I went, gimme. I said, I want this, please, share. And he gave me permission to share his answers. Would you like me to?
Yeah. No, go ahead. I'm just captivated by what you're saying, and you're driving. But carry on.
Well, in the circles you move in, Harun, your colleagues, associates, and people watching this will be more than aware that the word values is bandied around a lot these days.
Yeah.
And Professor Furnham said that people make massive decisions based upon their values. The problem with that is that it's only half of who you are as a person. I said, sorry, explain. He said, well, you are both your values and your insecurities. I went, what, your weaknesses? He went, yeah. So I said, so? He said, well, you must absolutely take into account your insecurities when making big decisions, because if you don't, they'll crop up and you'll use it as an excuse to walk away from something that potentially is really good.
Wow. That's, you know what, that's such an incredible point that is missing from when people talk about purpose. I've heard loads of others talk about purpose and values, but they don't talk about insecurities.
No, I don't know anybody else who does. Then he went on. He said, if you, and there's a long process that helps you understand what your values really are and what they're based upon, and what your insecurities are and what they're really based upon. Because sometimes, when I say sometimes, I mean nearly always, many of us have some insecurities that at their foundation are driven by insecurities. So let me give you an example of that. I always used to be a punctual. Now, when I say a punctual, I mean if I was on time, I was late. I was always early for everything. And and when I put down punctuality on the core values side, because I believed core value, it must be a core value, it's proper, it's decent, it's the British thing to do, it's courteous and respectful to be on time, I therefore assumed that it was core values driven. But actually it wasn't, because when I did the work, the process, I remembered that the first time that I started to be punctual was after when I was in primary school. I was walking to school, saw a road traffic accident, and I was late to school. And because I was late, the head teacher gave me the slipper. Now, for those who...
please explain.
For those who aren't old
millennium.
enough, teachers used to be able to use the cane or a slipper to beat you.
Or cricket bats.
Yeah, or a cricket bat when you were not well behaved. And I was late, I got the slipper for something that wasn't my fault, and in that moment, it made me think that if you're late, it hurts. So don't be late.
I see.
Be early. Avoid pain. Now, being punctual is really good for me. It is a value, but at its foundation, it was driven by an insecurity.
Right, I understand.
So some people's values are driven by insecurities. We all have values, and we also all have insecurities. Frequently, not always, people have more insecurities than they do values. But all of our insecurities are only driven by 3 things, and it'll take too long to explain in this interview all about that. But if all of your insecurities were only driven by 3 things, and you could have a little process that would enable you, like that, to go from feeling nervous, stressed, anxious, concerned, to being absolutely certain on how to deal with it, that to me is useful.
Yeah.
And so we help people understand their values, their insecurities, what their insecurities are driven by, so that in a heartbeat they can change.
Okay, so our listeners and viewers will probably be thinking, okay, how do I do this? How do I get access to finding out my insecurities and values? So, do you have something you can share?
Oh, certainly. We've got a course on the video learning platform called Udemy, U-D-E-M-Y, U-D-E-M-Y. And if you just put my name, David Hyner, H-Y-N-E-R, and the word purpose, I am sure the course will come up. And can I tell them about the free thing?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, this isn't a hook, this is a genuine offer. We, right now, as of the beginning of June 2018, have about 1,700 students on our video course. And it's a free course. It's free, it's not going to cost you a penny. But as soon as it hits 2,000, I'm going to put it up as a paid course. So I've got about 300 free video courses on this subject, Harun.
Okay, brilliant.
And I'm happy for your people to grab them.
Okay, well, if you're listening, check out the show notes. You're going to have the link there. If you're watching, it's in the description of the YouTube. So click on that and get that course. I'm asking questions on your behalf in a way that as if I don't know, but I've done a lot of Dave's work, and trust me on this one, it's a must. You can choose not to do it, but really, if you're serious about well, we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. If you're serious about your work, then you must do it. So Dave, coming back to purpose, so the company, the organization has a purpose, and let's just say the business owner has the purpose. What about the team? Because surely their purposes are going to be different.
Good question. I'm sure you've walked into an office or a company or a HQ where in reception, behind the receptionist on the wall, is a lovely plaque with the company's mission, value, vision or purpose statement, or it's in the front page of their brochure.
In that tone of voice as well, yeah. Absolutely.
In voice over voice. The problem with that is that it's normally created by one of two situations. Either one, the company have paid a PR company to come up with that phrase, and no one understands it, or two, the senior leadership team have been on a retreat and come up with it over a couple of bottles of Chardonnay and a nice cheeky Rioja. When the wine's flowing, they come up with these lovely words, little phrases, and they go, there we go, we've got our purpose. The problem is that the people who implement the purpose in an organisation are the workforce. And if they have not bought into it, heart, soul, body and mind, if they're not behind it, it's meaningless. They're words. And so it's little wonder that if you go into an organisation and ask someone on the shop floor, what's the purpose of this organisation? They go, I don't know. It doesn't matter what anyone tells you, the organisation is not purpose driven. However, if you go into an organisation and say, what's the purpose of this organisation? And they won't tell you what you do, they will tell you why they do it. What is the cause? What's the reason? What do they do as a result of making their widget or having 5 million in the bank account? What is the reason they do it? The raison d'etre, the call. What is the reason why? These companies, these individuals, owners, and these teams are massively more effective than others.
Wow.
Massively.
Wow. So, okay, let's talk about.
Give you an example if you want.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. Let's talk about you actually.
Me, okay.
Your purpose. I mean, you do what you do. Look, I mean, people who know you, they know you. Those who don't know you may want to be aware that you speak at events, primarily corporate and with young adults, in schools, colleges, universities, and so on. You're out there 3, 4, 5 times a week, sometimes doing 2 or 3 gigs a day throughout the year, except maybe you take some time off in the middle of summer.
I do.
Now, what drives you to work so flipping hard?
Because I have a purpose. When I first started speaking, I was very, very ego-driven. By that I mean I would present with a view to seeking acceptance and being liked, and I'd be precious about the evaluation forms and my scores, whereas now I'm absolutely not, because it's not about the scores, it's about what people do. my purpose is to have an impact, a lasting legacy of thousands and thousands of people, which we've already got, to be fair, thousands of people who have achieved massive goals, and in particular in the education sector, where I work for significantly lower fees with young adults, teenagers, staff and parents. I want to make an impact on over 1 million young adults' lives.
Wow.
And my massive goal is to be in front of every teenager in the country.
Wow. Well, if you're in the education department of the government, you need to get in touch with this guy, because that will help, right, Dave?
Yeah. But that's the goal. The purpose is to make a difference.
Right.
Have a legacy. That's the goal. That's the goal.
What drives your purpose to make a difference? I'm going to dig deep.
Well,
what or who?
Yeah, it's both. It's both. The one comes from. Do you remember I talked about values and insecurities?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my values is about doing the right thing rather than doing things right.
Right.
So it's very, very easy to do things right. You know, oh, I'm hungry, I'll have a burger rather than a salad. And looking at me, yeah, I should do with a few more salads. But it's the same. Some people will leave a relationship because they're not getting what they want, like that. Whereas actually, that's doing things right, self-gratifying themselves instantly. Whereas doing the right thing might be to stick around and try and work at it to nurture a much better, bigger thing. So the people in my life are my wife and son. Obviously I do it out of love and respect for them, and try to be a role model to my son, best friend to my wife, but the mission, the purpose is to make a lasting, measurable change to at least 1 million lives.
So that's your example of yourself, but how about...
Can we play corners?
Can we... No.
Playing corners. Left.
No!
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay, so...
Couldn't resist that.
No, yes. Okay. I was getting better there. My back was getting better, So let's talk about purpose. Start again. Staying on purpose. You've talked about your purpose. I totally get it. I've seen you in action with young people as well as professionals, entrepreneurs, business owners. How about people who've applied your process to discover their purpose? I'm talking about a company example, a business owner example. Can you share something like that for us?
Oh, how many do you want? Let's start. There's a guy called Sat Sembi. He was in the business of manufacturing and fitting luxury kitchens, very expensive items, top quality. And Sat, whenever I did a fundraising activity for charity, would just give me a check. And eventually I challenged him on it, and he didn't know why, other than the fact that it just made him feel good. When I pressed further, he actually didn't really have a purpose for making money, because he said, well, it's to financially secure myself and my family and friends. And I said, Sat, you're a multi-millionaire, you've already done that. And he went, oh yeah. I said, so why are you still making money then? What's the purpose? And he didn't really answer it. Then he went out to the village with his father, where his family originated, and he saw things that fundamentally changed him. And he came back and he got his family and his team's buy-in, and together they just changed the business in the pit of a recession and are absolutely flying now, because they know why they're making money, to make a difference.
So basically what you're saying is he was already doing well. But really getting to his purpose has just exponentially taken his company to a different place altogether. And more importantly, internal stuff for him. He's a different guy, and he's just started a new business that's all about helping people. It's remarkable. Wow.
I've got a better one for a bigger company. There's a children's car seat and pushchair designer manufacturer called Casato. They make all the funky designer looking. They have a purpose and mission to remove boring baby furniture from the world. Now that's a mission, but their purpose includes making a difference to their staff. So they're keeping their purpose internal. And what the owner, a guy called Andrew Kluge, who is one of the most interesting minds I've met in a long time. He's a very normal guy, really approachable, but straight down the line, doesn't mince his words whatsoever. And he pushes his team very, very hard, and it's a very profitable company. And you know, he gets offers to buy the company almost on a weekly basis, this guy. And they export all over the world, it's a global organisation, and based upon the profits of the business, he once or twice a year will get all of his team together and he'll treat them to a stonking day. I mean, slap up feed, motivational speaker, then out for a meal, then nightclubs and casino, you know, really looks after them all. And let me tell you about the company, right? He's in a sort of dark satanic 3-story mill in Bolton.
Oh goodness me.
The downstairs, the ground floor, is a showroom. The second floor is administration offices. Outside they've got distribution, a bit of warehousing, but the top floor is the staff playground. Now, most companies' idea of a staff playground is a coffee machine, a microwave and a beanbag. And the beanbag's got stains on it and no one goes near it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I have no clue.
Yeah, maybe a cassette recorder in the corner somewhere. Okay. This is like the top floor of the building, and it's got everything in there you could possibly imagine. The staff love working there. So why do they love working there? Surely it's not just because of a staff playground. Oh, I didn't tell you the best bit. You can get upstairs using the lift or the stairs, but the only way you can get downstairs is using the slide. and it's just remarkable. And based upon the profits of the company, once or twice a year, he gets his team together, has a big day, and at lunchtime, he'll get them all to write down what they would do with a pot of cash. And the pot of cash can be anything from, you know, $1,000 up to 5, 6, 8, 10 grand, whatever the profits of the business have been in that period. And he picks out between 1 and 2 names, and whatever's written on it, it happens.
Wow.
Could you imagine how motivated his team are?
Wow.
They'd walk through walls for him, and it doesn't matter if they want to pay off some of their mortgage, clear the store cards. It doesn't matter if they want to give it to a church, mosque, temple, Gurdwara. It doesn't matter if they want to go and work in an elephant sanctuary or give it to kittens who make earwax candles. You know, it really doesn't matter what they want to do with it. They can do what they want. It's their purpose, their goals. And so he makes magic happen.
The interesting thing is that most people who are employees in most organizations are disengaged. They're doing a job, and so they'll do the bare minimum that's needed to get the job done, right?
Yeah.
And they just want to get home. Whereas here, I'm presuming this is the company that these people don't plan on leaving ever.
I'm sure people watching this, many of us have at some point in our life worked for a boss or within a team where even if you didn't know what the purpose of the business was, you as a team just worked like that together, and you were purpose driven. We're going to be the best, we're going to do it first, we're going to do it biggest, we're going to do it better, and because of that you smashed it. And if you were on a 40 hours a week contract earning, I don't know, £300 a week, you'd happily have worked 120 hours a week for that money, because it was thriving. It was a buzz, it was an energy. There was something very, very purpose driven about it all. And then you can work for somebody else who's just about the money.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it makes you want to do the bare minimum.
Yep, exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly. Now, your own purpose is to make a difference to 1 million lives, young people's lives. How are you doing that? What is it that you're doing? What is it that you're teaching them?
Well, we're nearly halfway there. Over the last 18 years, we've presented to over 500,000 people. I am not naive enough to assume that every single one of them have used what we've given them. But we have had people using purpose and our massive goal processor, that you're very familiar with, to become British, European, world sporting champions, Amazon #1 authors, charity fundraising record breakers, millionaires in business, and I could go on and on and on. We've had students get mentored by Barack Obama, Dame Judi Dench, and on and on. I could just go on and on with the things people have achieved. And if you can't tell from my animated mannerisms, you know, that is what drives me. I don't care about the applause. In fact, to quote a good friend of mine, Nigel Risner, the speaker, I don't go to be liked anymore. I go to be trusted.
Right.
I want people to use. I don't want people to like me. I want them to use what I'm going to give them, because that will make them more effective. When they're effective, that makes me happy.
Wow, this is actually pretty phenomenal what you just said. You don't care about being liked.
I used to.
It's about being trusted, and actually, it's only when people trust that they start engaging.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. Absolutely true.
So the massive goal process that you've developed over so many years and then applied it, and I know it works because as a result of using it, I ended up launching a radio station, ran that for 5 years. I published my first book, very science-driven book. I've used it for so many different things, so I personally know it works. So why is it so different, or how is it so different from the traditional goal-setting methods taught by NLP people or taught at colleges and so on?
Many goal-setting processes are the creation of one mind. My goal-setting process is a gradually developed process from 250 top achiever research interviews, and it contradicts what is traditionally taught about goal setting. When it comes to goal setting, most people are taught to set realistic and achievable goals. I'm sure you've heard the acronym SMART, and yet, Harun, I tracked down, because I'm a skeptic, I tracked down the person who invented the acronym SMART goals, and he was an American project manager called George T. Duran, and he's widely quoted as saying your goal should be smart. I've not found one single quote attributed to him saying that. I have, however, found several quotes of him saying, when working on really large projects, the steps to your goal should be smart. Now that's different.
That's hugely different.
That is different. And also, when you look at his CV, George T. Duran did not set smart goals. He was a water utilities project manager who worked on multi-billion-dollar projects. So isn't it any wonder when working on really large projects, the steps to his goal should be smart. The problem is that the business schools and the academics got hold of it and said your goal should be smart. No. In fact, and I'm sorry, I know you're dying to ask another question, but can I just add?
Yeah.
Out of 250 top achievers, asking them how they set goal, how many of them do you think answered the question saying, "Ooh, I set realistic goal"? Not one of them.
Not one of not the ones, the big achievers. No way. No way.
Not one.
And you know, when I used to sell medical equipment, I got to number one in medical sales in my company and the company after. I was a top one. I wasn't always number one in the first one, that's the truth. Second one, I was number one all the way through from the moment I got my territory, based on the approach you take. I hadn't met you at this point, but it's certainly not following traditional methods. Okay, so we won't go into the hows and wherefores, because I mean, this is an entire workshop really. But if people wanted to access you or access this knowledge about massive goals, where do they go to? How do they do that?
Well, if they want to get hold of me, just put my name in Google. I'm over it like a rashid I want to speak to the doctor about. But if they actually want the goal setting process, again, they can go to the video learning platform Udemy, Udemy, and just put in the massive goal principle or my name, and sooner or later it'll pop up.
Okay, and once again, links are attached to this particular recording.
But that's a paid course. That's not free.
It's all right. It's definitely worth it. So my question arises: why do people end up doing smart goals, not get the results, but still go back to smart goals? That I'm just curious. If it doesn't work, why do they keep on doing it?
Because they're not purpose driven. They are materialistically driven, and in many cases, and sorry, this is not a very nice thing to say, people are afraid of hard work.
Right.
They give in too easy. They use the word try. Yeah. Try and remove that from your vocabulary.
Yeah.
it's an excuse we use to give in at the first sign of it getting too difficult. If you're purpose driven, when the challenges, the knockbacks, the failures come, you stand up, brush yourself down, take a deep breath and go, is that all you've got? And you go again. And I would wager that everybody watching this right now has had a moment in their life where everyone said, you can't do that, you got up, brush yourself down, and you kept going, and you achieved the thing you wanted. It's because your reason to achieve it was bigger than your insecurity and fear. And that's what a purpose gives you. When it comes to massive goals, if you have a reason to do that goal that is bigger than your fear, a purpose, you will smash it. I can give a personal example if you wish.
Yeah, please.
Okay. I first proved my massive goal and purpose around raising money for charity. I did an event that raised over £250,000 with some friends for cancer research. And we should not have achieved our goal. We should have given in. People actually tried to stop us doing the event because volunteers should not be able to do this kind of thing, and if it goes wrong it could reflect badly on the charity, etc, etc. So we did it anyway. And when it got tough and when they said you can't do it, they didn't know one thing. They didn't know that I had a purpose. They knew I had a goal, they didn't know my purpose. You see, a few months earlier I'd sadly lost my mum to a very huge brain tumour, and I made a promise to myself and to her that I would do something in her honour. And so when they said you can't do this, I simply smiled at them, and in my head I said, come and have a go.
Yeah.
Is that all you've got? And I should have given in several times, the challenges we had setting up this event, but my reason to do it was bigger than my fears.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Actually, I didn't know that.
Did you not?
No, I knew you did it to prove your massive goal principle works, prove to the world, prove to yourself, because you were doing it for the first time. But I never knew that it was because your purpose was your mother passing away. So, and I've known you for a long time, Dave. So, okay, so if there's one last message you want to share for now with our I was going to say viewers, our viewers, which is a combination of viewers and listeners, what would that message be, Dave?
Start. Put your big girl pants on, put your big boy pants on, and be prepared to fail occasionally. Be prepared. Embrace getting things wrong, things not going right. That's where we learn. But if you've got a massive goal and a reason to do it that's bigger than your fear, you will achieve it. And there is a rule of thumb, by the way. Would you be prepared to have a go at 5 things if you knew that 2 of them will probably fail, 1 of them will do okay, and 2 of them you'll smash out the park? Now, if you're setting big goals, would you be prepared to fail twice, 1 be okay, if you knew that twice on average you would smash it? For me, that's an acceptable ratio.
Yeah, hell yeah is the answer for me as well.
So when I get the occasional, sadly, I had to let go of a little business this year because it wasn't making any money. Normally, I'd have been down about that for a year or more. I was able to let it go because it's next.
Yeah, emotional resilience, right?
Let it go. Wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Next, focus like a laser beam. And within weeks of letting go of that, a huge opportunity has landed for me to work even more in schools, supposedly in a pit of a recession when the schools have got no money. Strange that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. David Hyner, thank you very much for driving me around and to your location. And
at least I didn't drive you insane.
Yeah, you haven't done that yet. Because I've already achieved that goal. And thank you for joining the Harun Rabbani Show.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching the Harun Rabbani Show with myself, Harun Rabbani, as well as my guest, David Hyner. I hope you've enjoyed our travels together. So make sure that you register for this free course. There's only approximately, at this moment in time, 200 spaces left on his program. It's free. He's giving away to you as a gift. Beyond that, he's going to be charging. So anyway, it's something that will make a difference to yourself. So if you've liked this video, if you've liked this interview, make sure you share it with your friends, with your colleagues, share it on social media especially. And join me once again next week on the Harun Rabbani Show. Bye for now.